2 minutes. That's all Egypt had to survive. 2 more minutes, and they would have completed the greatest upset in modern World Cup history. The reigning world champions were beaten. Lionel Messi looked finished. Argentina were on their way home, and then one whistle, one controversial decision, one counterattack changed everything. Within moments, Argentina were celebrating, Egypt were devastated, and millions of football fans around the world weren't talking about Messi's comeback. They were talking about the referee. Because according to many Egyptian fans, journalists, and even former players, Argentina's winning goal should never have happened. They believe the entire counterattack started with a foul inside Argentina's own penalty area. A foul that, if given, wouldn't just have canceled the goal, it could have given Egypt a penalty and possibly knocked the world champions out of the tournament. But here's the thing, this isn't really a story about one controversial decision, because if this had happened once, almost nobody would still be talking about it. Football is full of controversial calls. They happen every single week. The reason this one exploded is because people believe they've seen this movie before. Think back to Qatar, the controversial penalty against Poland, the chaotic battle with the Netherlands, the debate surrounding the World Cup final, the challenges that somehow avoided red cards. One incident can be dismissed, 2 can be called bad luck. But after years of controversy, many fans have started asking the same uncomfortable question: has Argentina been benefiting from refereeing decisions, or has football's biggest team simply become football's biggest target? Today, we're putting emotions aside, we're going through every major controversy, what the laws of the game actually say, what former referees had to say, and whether there's really a pattern, or whether millions of football fans have connected dots that simply aren't there. But before we go back to Qatar, we have to start in Atlanta, because unless you understand what happened in those final minutes against Egypt, none of the controversy that followed makes any sense. And trust me, the replay that everyone is arguing about is only half of the story. We need to answer one question: what actually happened against Egypt? Because depending on who you ask, this was either a perfectly legal winning goal or one of the most controversial moments of the entire tournament. With Argentina trailing 2-0 and time running out, the world champions were desperate. They pulled one goal back, Messi equalized, and suddenly, everything came down to one final attack. Deep into stoppage time, Egypt pushed forward looking for one last chance to survive. Mohamed Salah went down inside Argentina's penalty area after a coming together with Julian Alvarez. Egyptian players immediately appealed for a penalty. The referee waved play on. Argentina broke forward within seconds, and Enzo Fernandez headed home the winner. Just like that. Egypt's World Cup dream was over. But the real controversy wasn't the goal itself, it was everything that happened before it. Egypt's coaching staff insisted there had been enough contact for a penalty. The Egyptian Football Association went even further, submitting an official complaint to FIFA over the officiating after the match. Several former players and television pundits also questioned the consistency of the decisions made throughout the game. Some argued that if similar contact elsewhere in the tournament had been reviewed, this one deserved another look as well. But that's only one side of the story. Others pointed out that VAR isn't designed to re-referee every physical challenge. The threshold for awarding a penalty is deliberately high, and according to FIFA's refereeing department, there was no evidence that officials acted with bias, while Argentina themselves rejected suggestions that the victory was handed to them. So, was Egypt robbed? Or was this simply another subjective refereeing decision that looked much worse because of what happened seconds later? That's where this story becomes fascinating, because whether you believe the referee got it right or horribly wrong, almost everyone agrees on one thing: this wasn't the first time Argentina had found themselves at the center of a refereeing storm. And if you rewind just 4 years, you'll find a tournament where almost every knockout match involving Argentina left behind another debate, another controversial decision, and another argument that still hasn't disappeared. It all started in Qatar. Throughout Argentina's World Cup winning campaign in 2022, Controversial refereeing decisions seemed to follow them almost everywhere they went. Some were eventually explained, others are still debated today. Take the quarterfinal against the Netherlands. It remains one of the most chaotic matches in World Cup history. Spanish referee Antonio Mateo Lahoz handed out a record 18 yellow cards. Players from both teams completely lost control. Lionel Messi escaped punishment for an earlier deliberate handball, while Leandro Paredes avoided a red card after smashing the ball into the Dutch bench, triggering a mass confrontation. Even Messi himself criticized the referee after the match, while Dutch players argued Argentina had been treated too leniently. Then there was Poland. Wojciech Szczęsny was penalized after making contact with Messi while trying to punch away a cross. Some referees defended the decision, saying the goalkeeper made contact with the opponent's face after missing the ball. Others argued that similar incidents are often ignored because both players are genuinely contesting the ball, even years later. Fans still can't agree whether it was a correct penalty or one of the softest calls of the tournament. And then came the World Cup final. France questioned Argentina's opening penalty. Argentina questioned France's late equalizer, even after one of the greatest finals football has ever seen. The refereeing debate never truly disappeared. That's what makes this conversation so fascinating. None of these moments on their own prove anything. Every World Cup produces controversial decisions. Every champion benefits from calls and suffers from others. But football fans rarely judge incidents one by one. They remember patterns. And by the time Argentina lifted the trophy in Lusail, one nickname had already spread across social media: Vargentina. To supporters, it was nothing more than jealousy directed at the new world champions. To critics, it became shorthand for a team that somehow always seemed to come out on the right side of football's biggest decisions. So let me ask you something. If you had watched only Qatar, would that have been enough to convince you? Or would you have called it exactly what football has always been? A sport where every major tournament creates its own refereeing arguments. Because if Qatar started the debate, the 2026 World Cup poured fuel on the fire. And that's where this story takes another dramatic turn, because this time, it wasn't just one decision, it felt like every week. There was another controversy involving Argentina. It started in the group stage. Around the half-hour mark, Lionel Messi escaped punishment after a late challenge that many fans believed deserved at least a yellow card. Some refereeing experts even argued it could have justified a straight red. Instead, the referee reached for nothing, no yellow, no red, and the controversy had begun. The football almost became secondary. We already talked about the penalty appeals and the counterattack that sent Argentina through. Egypt's Football Association filed an official complaint. Their coach openly questioned the officiating. FIFA's refereeing chief, Pierluigi Collina, publicly defended every major decision, insisting the officials had correctly applied the laws of the game and rejecting any suggestion of bias. But convincing millions of angry football fans is much harder than convincing a rule book. And then came Switzerland, with the quarterfinal hanging in the balance. Breel Embolo was suddenly sent off after VAR intervened using FIFA's brand new interpretation of the mistaken identity rule. It wasn't a normal red card, it wasn't even a normal VAR review. The yellow card was reassigned after the review, and because Embolo had already been booked, that decision immediately became a red. Switzerland were down to 10 men. Argentina survived, and the debate exploded all over again. Swiss coach Murat Yakin described the decision as extremely difficult to accept. Swiss players admitted they couldn't understand how such an interpretation could decide a World Cup quarterfinal. Meanwhile, FIFA stood by the officials once again, and that's exactly why the nickname Vargentina has become so popular online. Not because one decision proves anything, but because football fans don't remember isolated moments. They remember patterns. One controversial decision becomes two become four, and eventually, people stop asking whether each individual call was correct. They start asking why the same team always seems to be standing in the middle of the biggest refereeing debates. Add to that what many supporters believe was one of the more favorable knockout paths among the major contenders, and it's easy to understand why so many neutral fans have become suspicious. Does any of this prove that Argentina have been helped? No. There is still no evidence of a conspiracy. Every controversial decision can be explained individually, That's exactly what FIFA has argued throughout this tournament. But I also don't think football fans are crazy for asking questions, because perception matters. And right now, the perception is hurting the tournament. Whether Argentina deserved that reputation or not, they've become the team that millions of fans expect to benefit every time a 50-50 decision appears on the screen. Maybe that's unfair, maybe it's just the price of being world champions, or maybe football's biggest tournament still has a consistency problem that no amount of technology has managed to solve. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Vargentina is just another internet meme? Or has Argentina genuinely benefited from too many controversial decisions over the last 2 World Cups? Let me know in the comments. I'll be reading every opinion. And if you enjoy football stories that go beyond the scoreline, make sure you subscribe, because the deeper you look into football, the crazier it gets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.